Carol Ann Duffy. She is a British poet and playwright, a professor of contemporary poetry at Manchester Metropolitan University. She became Britain's Poet Laureate in the year 2009. She was the first Scottish born poet and the first LGBT poet to hold that position. Duffy is often known for her love poems that take the form of monologues. As a feminist poet with radical thoughts, she knew how to subvert fairy tales and also myths to drive home her points. Her verses, as an economist reviewer described them, they are the voices of the urban, they are spoken in the voices of the urban disaffected. People on the margins of society who always harbor resentments and also grudges against the world. Here, the poem that we are going to learn today, Anne Hathaway, it is a 14-line sonnet that doesn't follow a rhyme scheme. And as is common with the poems of Duffy, this is also is in the form of a dramatic monologue, which means that there is only one speaker talking to you, talking to the reader without any interruption. You might have heard of Anne Hathaway. Yes, you guessed it right. She was the wife of the bard William Shakespeare. The pair got married in 1582 when a poet was just a teenager and Anne nearly 10 years older than him. Later, at some point, he left Stratford upon Avon to pursue his career in the theatre field. Later, with the money that he earned from the theatre, Shakespeare bought the largest house in the town. And this particular poem focuses on the bet that the couple shared in their home. We know Shakespeare died in 1616. In his will, there was only one item mentioned. Curious to know that? Well, Shakespeare wanted his second best bet to be given to poor Anne, his wife. So we wonder, why not the best bet in their home? Why this concern about why this importance given to the second best bet in their home? Ever since the will, critics have been racking their minds to understand the importance of the second best bet in Shakespeare's life. Maybe it meant that his first mistress was always theatre. നമ്മൾ ഈ കവികളൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു കേട്ടിട്ടില്ലേ, എൻ്റെ ആദ്യ ഭാര്യ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ കവിതയാണെന്ന്, അങ്ങനെ കേട്ടിട്ടില്ലേ? അതുപോലെ ആയിരിക്കാം സെക്കൻഡ് ബെസ്റ്റ് ബെറ്റ്. Though many take it as evidence of Shakespeare's cold attitude towards his wife, our poet Carol Ann Duffy, she has a very interesting, different take on it. Let us see what it is. During Elizabethan times, there was this custom to leave the best bed in a house for the guests, while the hosts find their marital place in the second best bed in the same home. We also do that, right? If some guests arrive, they come to a home, we leave the best room of a home for them. So for Anne, the second best bed of their home, that is the most romantic, that's the most poetic of all. See where our poet Carol Ann Duffy takes this second bed to in the poem. The poem. Item I give unto my wife, my second best bed. That is the inscription we find at the beginning of the poem. This is the inscription in Shakespeare's will also, where he instructs people to leave his second best bed to his wife, to poor Anne. The poem begins. The bed we loved in was a spinning world of forests, castles, torchlight, cliff tops, seas where he'd die for pearls. Anne is the speaker of the poem. And here at the beginning, we find her recalling those wonderful days she spent with the bard, with Shakespeare. She says that the bed that they spent, that was the place where her husband's imagination ran riot. When we someday visit his home in Stratford upon Avon, even we would think like this. This is the place where everything was born, all those places. And just think from the point of view of Anne, Shakespeare's wife. That second best bed that they shared, she remembers. It was not a static world, it was a dynamic spinning world. spinning stories, spinning images of forests, castles, torchlight, cliff tops, and even seas where Shakespeare would dive for pearls. Each of those images brings to your mind unique scenes from Shakespearean plays. Those are very strong allusions. For example, the forest on line 2. That brings to your mind the forest of Arden in the play As You Like It, and again the outland settings in the play A Midsummer Night's Dream. Castles feature in many Shakespearean plays, but the ones that come to your mind first are the ones in Hamlet and Macbeth. With cliff tops, we are off to King Lear, that play. And finally comes the seas where Shakespeare would dive for pearls. Where does that image take us to? To that song about the dead body lying at the bottom of the sea in the play Tempest. Full fathom 5, my father lies. Those are pearls that were his eyes. So Anne remembers. This is the bed from where all those images were born. Forests, castles, torchlight, cliff tops, seas where her husband would dive for pearls. The bed is the sea here. It is into such a sea that her husband would dive for pearls. Well, that turns the scene a bit erotic. The scene subtly tells us about the sexual exploration of her husband on the marital bed and the pleasure that it gives her. But remember one thing, throughout the poem, he is the one who is exploring and she is the one who is acted upon, and she is a mere observer, maybe look at the wonderful world that her husband was creating. The speaker's passivity is very important in the poem, so is the power equation in the poem between the husband and the wife. My lover's words were shooting stars, which fell to earth as kisses on these lips. Look at this. My lover's words were shooting stars that fell to earth like kisses on her lips. Beautiful image, isn't it? For Anne, her husband is not just lover. He is also Shakespeare, the supreme dramatist and poet. It is not sex and love that is important for her, but his words too. And they are the shooting stars that rain down on her body like kisses. She is supremely happy. We are in a hall of mirrors. What is real and what is metaphorical? Reading this poem, we find it a bit difficult where the writer ends and the husband begins, where the metaphor ends and where the bodily love begins. That border is very thin, paper thin. That bed, perhaps that bed, that second best bed in the home, that is where both these worlds unite, the husband and the writer. Next lines. My body now a softer rhyme to his, now echo assonance. We have seen earlier that Anne sees herself being acted upon by the master of the home, the master writer. She is passive, echoing his harder action with a softer rhyme. Assonance and consonance, we know they are elements in the world of poetry. So in a subtle way, Anne is underlining the presence of music and poetry in their marital life. It's a kind of deeper love with a man, with a poet. And Anne could not imagine, even in those intimate moments on their bed, her husband being wooed away from his world of poetry, from his world of writing. Love and poetry get mingled here on their second best bed in their home. His touch, a verb dancing in the center of a noun. Again, see, he is the verb, the agent of action, and she, the noun, the one who is acted upon. But she seems to be kind with that kind of life, that kind of equation in their marital life. But I get stuck in that beautiful image of his touch, that verb dancing in the middle, in the center of a noun. Some nights I dreamed he had written me, the bed a page beneath his writer's hands. So this is the wild fantasy. She dreams that he had written me, the bed a page beneath his writer's hands. We know that Shakespeare is one of the greatest writers of the world, and he has with his quill crafted some of the most perfect scenes, characters and emotions in literature, all with his writer's hands. What if he had written me, she asked. She'd have been immensely happy then. She wants her bed to be a page in which she would write her down, create her out of his imagination. The sense of our speaker's powerlessness continues as she wishes to exist only in the imagination of her dead husband. Even then, she'd be very happy. But still, for the first time in the poem, we feel a bit doubtful about the actual relationship between the two, Shakespeare and Anne. Why? Don't you see an element of wistfulness creeping into her tone? This is just a wish. She wants to bring his writing into their world, intimate world. But the two might have remained separate in their actual life, real life. But we are not sure about this. In poetry, we can only guess at things. Romance and drama played by touch, by scent, by taste. See, they had romance and drama on their bed, played by touch, by scent, by taste. Anne is taking us to the intimate world of her marital life. In the other bed, the guest dozed on, dribbling their prose. Only when we reach here, we understand what Anne means by calling this the second best bed in the home. The best bed in the home is reserved for guests. Anne compares her marital life with that of those guests who stayed in the best bed of their home. They dozed on, dribbling their prose. And you know that something that is poetic has got a definite edge over being prosaic in life. Anne is saying that their love is more lively and magical than the prosaic relations that other people carry around in their lives. So, this is exactly where our poet Duffy subverts the very thought that the second best is inferior to the best. If your love is true, if your love is poetic, imaginative, emotional, you'll be living on an ethereal plane with your partner. The kind of life that Anne was leading with Shakespeare. And here come the last lines. My living, laughing love, I hold him in the casket of my widow's head as he held me upon that next best bed. She calls him my living, laughing love and then cuts off. Alas, he is no more. We get sad as we read on. The bard is no more. Anne says that I hold him in the casket of my head, his memory, just the way he held me upon that next best bed. This is exactly how we think about those people who have left us, died. Anne sees her husband still living and laughing, maybe on their bed. But then suddenly she realizes, no, it can't be. He has gone forever. She breaks off painfully. Her living, laughing husband is no more. She can now do only one thing as a reassurance to herself or to her dead husband. She would carry him in her memory, in her mind, with her until her last breath, just the way he carried her during their marital life. Which means she would write him down just the way he wrote her down on that second best bed in their home. Interesting thing this is, because she had now become the verb dancing in the middle of that now her husband, now still by death. So these are the points that you have to keep in your memory. Anne Hathaway is the speaker of the poem, and she remembers about the bed which is the second best bed in the home, not the best bed, where she spends time with her husband William Shakespeare. And this is the bed where Will's imagination had run riot. Forests, castles, torchlight, cliff tops, seas, what all things spun out of that bed, that ecstatic bed. This is the bed where Shakespeare woos Anne with his sweet words and also kisses that rain down like shooting stars. Then Anne uses words from the poetic world, echo, assonance, verb, noun. She tells us how she echoed or complimented her husband's love by being the softer rhyme or being the echo, assonance. She is the passive noun while her husband is the dancing verb, the agent of action. But she is happy with that kind of settlement in life. We see the wilder side of Anne as she imagines herself of how her husband would write her down like a poem or a play with his writer's hands on the white sheets of their bed. While this creative magic was going on their bed, Anne gives us a glimpse of what is happening in their best bed. That means the neighbor, the guest bed. Their poor people, they carry on with their prosaic lives. Then comes the last phase. She recalls with pain. Her living, laughing love is no more with her. But she'd carry him in the casket of her head, just the way he tenderly carried her on the bed while he was alive.